Ladies and gentlemen, people of the internet, welcome to yet another episode of an ongoing weekly series on this channel called Crypto Over Coffee. Every Friday, I pick out interesting news, current events, and announcements in the cryptocurrency and technology world, and then I break them down for you over a cup of delicious coffee. So today, we're talking about Bitcoin mining, the Bitcoin halving, internet privacy, the new protocol designed by Unibright, Consensus, Chainlink, and others, and a whole bunch more. Oh, and by the way, in future episodes, I will be giving away products, apparel, crypto, and more, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and stop by every single Friday so you don't miss out. But as always, we will start the meat and potatoes of today's episode with questions from the community on YouTube and Twitter. So I'll head over to the good old iPad and get started with those questions. Most of them are from YouTube today, but if you want to get your question answered about crypto or tech, leave them in the comments below or tweet me at Hashoshi4. The first question is from Zero Kurayami. I have a question. Which one is better for my CPU, Brave versus Chrome? This is an interesting question, and I get this one a fair bit. Comparing the two in terms of resource use, both are going to be similar in terms of RAM usage, although Brave is much better optimized in my humble opinion. In terms of CPU, during the times where Brave is calculating which ads to block using the ad block lists and their Rust ad blocking engine, you'll see a CPU spike. You also might see a CPU spike if you have scripts blocked on a page and they keep trying to reset because the CPU is going to handle that. Otherwise, Brave is really efficient in terms of your CPU usage. So I would definitely recommend Brave if you want something that's going to be less resource intensive on your computer. Granted, Chrome is also a super RAM hungry and CPU hungry browser, so no matter which way you slice it, Chromium browsers underneath the hood are always going to be a little bit RAM hungry themselves. So that being said, Brave does get the edge in terms of performance, especially on mobile devices. If you're on mobile, you can compare the two. Your battery life is going to be way better with Brave than it will be with Chrome. Thank you for the question. Shane M asks, I thought Coinbase only insured the USD in your account up to 250K. Did that change to include crypto now? Or has it always been this way? When did they announce insurance? This is a great question, and I want to mention this because the last time that I did a video off the top of my head, someone asked me, if crypto is insured on Coinbase and other exchanges, why do we have to take it off and put it into a hardware wallet? My point was you should take it off into a hardware wallet regardless because then you own it. What I didn't know is that Coinbase does not actually insure your crypto whatsoever. I went and read the policies on the website in depth, and I found several references to the fact that Coinbase only insures their USD balance within your fiat wallet inside your Coinbase account. That's because they use FDIC-backed US banks that have 250K worth of insurance on them. So I will tell you, make sure your crypto is off exchange. Your crypto is not insured. There are insured crypto exchanges, but I don't necessarily trust that they are actually insured. So your mileage may vary. But thank you very much, Shane M, for bringing this to my attention, and all the other folks in the comments who said, hey, I don't think crypto is insured. I appreciate that. Thank you for checking my mistake. Next question. Alex Hay asks, hey man, thanks for all your work. What are your thoughts on Nash? So Nash is another exchange, a decentralized exchange, if you will. And I don't really love Nash, but I don't hate it either. Here's one of my issues. In decentralized exchanges, or DEXs for short, a lot of times the actions and the things you can do on the exchange and the governance all happens using the token. There are 50 million Nash tokens out there on their ecosystem, and 25 million of those, so half of the tokens, are still held by the team behind Nash or their partners. And I definitely don't love that. They also raised over $20 million, I believe, if I remember the numbers correctly, to build out their DEX. And early on in those days, they were having issues with user registration. They were having issues with scalability. They were having issues with trades. That's definitely not a good look, having raised that much money to build this product out. That being said, I'm happy to have competition in the DEX space because I think the more that are built and the more people that work on DEXs, the more quality products that we'll start to see come out because of that competition. So From that perspective, Nash itself is not an exchange that I would use, but if you like it, let me know in the comments down below why it is that you like it. I'm very curious, and maybe it'll change my mind. Thank you for the question. Two Guys Natty asks, cool vid as always, thanks very much, sir, but been meaning to ask, what kind of coffee? Great question. Details if you please. I like mine straight black. Great question, and I'm going to try and bring more attention to my coffee in every episode here per your guys' request. The Dunder Mifflin mug is back today. I do love The Office. I drink my coffee straight black as well. No cream, no sugar, none of that. And I really, really like single origin coffee blends from Red Rooster Coffee in Floyd, Virginia. It's a local roaster. Really, really love them. And yeah, that's why I made this series about coffee and crypto and tech, because I just love coffee. So thanks very much for that question. All right, and I believe this is the last question from Chris McFadden. Chris McFadden asks, this might be a dumb question, of course it's not, but how useful would it be to do a boot camp for full stack web development towards getting involved in the crypto community? I'd like to get more involved in actual code, understanding, and eventually creating, but I have little experience. Again, this is an awesome question and one that I'm very passionate about. I definitely think doing a full stack development bootcamp would be extremely helpful in getting involved in the crypto space from a development perspective. It's also very important that you start with an understanding of what types of applications would benefit from blockchain and how blockchain applications are applied to real world problems. I think if you have some full stack development experience or even one side of the game, you have back end experience using Node.js, for example, and JavaScript, or you have front end experience using React. React is huge. So for folks that are sitting there saying, hey, I have a little web development experience, or I want to get involved in coding, pick a spot and go for it. If I had to recommend something to you that will get you a job fairly instantly in the crypto space or beyond, if you can learn how to use one of the big UI frameworks, especially React, that would be a great place to start because you would be highly employable, especially if you have UX design work experience as well. Now, in terms of building applications and getting experience, the best teacher is always to go and just build something. If you have an idea, you want to build out an NFT, go out there, find the ERC 721 standard, take it, implement it, build it, connect it to a front end, and then start interacting and just break stuff. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to hit walls that you're not going to be able to sort out, but you'll eventually get there. And once you do, that is the best experience. And I guarantee you, it's the coolest feeling that you will ever feel as a new developer when your stuff just works and your code compiles and everything works the way it's supposed to. You know that you built it. And that's the coolest thing. So reach out to folks online. You can reach out to me if you need help. But definitely do full stack bootcamp if you want to. Do a React bootcamp, do a Node.js bootcamp, and just build stuff. Build stuff in your spare time. That is the key. So thanks very much for your questions, guys. That will about wrap it up for the questions period, but let's move on to the stories. Now, the first story of the day is about Unstoppable Domain's new Chrome extension that allows users to browse IPFS websites that are resolved using the company's .zil and .crypto domains. These domains are hosted and resolved on the Zilliqa and Ethereum blockchain, respectively, so they cannot be taken away from you or shut down by any central party. This is part of a larger push towards making decentralized, non-centrally hosted websites mainstream and easy to create. With domains, easy-to-use website builder tools, and hosting tools all provided by Unstoppable Domains, you can get really serious about building your own website in a super quick and easy fashion. And again, I have a tutorial coming out on how to do that yourself. In a previous Crypto Over Coffee episode, you'll remember that I have my own website hosted on IPFS, a decentralized file storage protocol, and it's now viewable by typing in my Unstoppable Domain, Hashoshi.crypto, into Unstoppable Domain's new IPFS browser. However, with this Chrome extension, they've now made it super easy to find mine and thousands of other IPFS hosted websites resolved using these .zil and .crypto domains. You use this Chrome extension in Chromium browser of choice, and then you can use it to navigate to these websites without downloading a brand new browser at all. I will leave a link to the Chrome extension down below for you to check out, as well as a link to Unstoppable Domain's site in case you want to pick up a domain for yourself and set up your own decentralized website. Again, tutorial coming soon. Speaking of Chrome extensions, though, I want to bring your attention to a rising number of crypto scams happening using extensions. Recently, a fake Ledger Live Chrome extension was found to be collecting users' seed phrases and data to steal their crypto. Remember, never ever punch your seed phrase into a service that you don't recognize, and always verify the developer and release version of any software you're using. 9.9 times out of 10, it will not ask you for your seed phrase without your device there to be the arbiter. Before you're using a piece of software, a great rule of thumb is to just never put your seed phrase in at all. Most of the time, it's a scam. When you recover your keys using your seed phrase, you almost always have to use your wallet itself and never just punch in the plain text words into a Chrome extension or an app. So definitely have your wits about you, be aware of scams, and if you have questions or you're concerned about something, you can reach out to me at info@hashoshi.com or to the companies that run these different hardware wallet softwares. I want you guys to be safe and to protect your crypto, so I'm here to help. Now, I also wanted to touch on something pretty darn cool that you might not have heard of. One of the first distributed networks that ever existed in the wild world of the internet was called SETI at Home. And sadly, it's shutting its doors. But what was this monumental project? SETI at Home, or SETI at Home, is a project that enabled and encouraged users to contribute their computing power at home in a distributed, pooled network in order to process data for research. So you could lend your computing power at your computer from home to a pool of computing resources that were all used for a common goal. However, recently SETI at Home's team announced that the project will close its doors and go on hiatus at the end of March 2020. For me, this is a sad day. Throughout the years, this project has not only gotten people on board with distributed computing and created a variety of research projects, they've also spawned several other distributed computing projects and likely inspired some of the projects we see in the cryptocurrency world today that rely on incentivized, gamified data processing or computing power pooling. One of the critical pieces of cryptocurrency projects in a decentralized or distributed computing environment is making sure the incentive structures line up for everyone involved so that they do the right thing and that they all work towards a common goal. This project was one of the first that really took that and made that relevant inside a distributed computing environment. So I'm sad to see this project close its doors, but I'm happy to see that other projects like Folding at Home are using distributed computing just like this to analyze the structure of the coronavirus. So there's cool stuff still happening in the distributed computing world, and if you're interested, definitely look it up online and see if you can get involved. So moving on, I wanted to address something somewhat underaddressed that I think people are interested in, and that is internet privacy and security. Recently, a bill was introduced in the US that is referred to as the Earn It Act, which at face value is designed to fight against child predation and exploitation online. I will make it very clear that I'm 100% on board with proactive measures to stamp out this sort of crime, not one doubt about it. However, the legislation itself, as written, poses concerns for its impact on end-to-end encryption. This Earn It Act will essentially require big tech companies like the Googles and Facebooks of the world to earn their rights to indemnification in the case of child predation or other crime that's facilitated on their platform, if they can prove that they took necessary measures and adequate steps outlined in the legislation to prevent that activity from taking place. However, this called end-to-end encryption of user interactions and messaging into question because members of Congress have implied in the past or even more directly postulated that tech companies cannot adequately work to prevent these crimes on their platforms without being able to read user communications in raw format. This means that the communications wouldn't be encrypted or there would at least be a backdoor. This implies to me that there is a possibility that any platforms that use end-to-end encryption to protect our data could be held liable for crimes on their platforms, which could obviously eventually lead to grounds for elimination of end-to-end encryption or companies giving it up altogether. Although companies like Facebook have also postulated that they can adequately filter out and stamp out crime without eroding the very basis of encryption on their platform, which is something that I can get behind. This is something to watch. We must use technology to solve these problems, new technology to solve these problems, not go backwards and remove technology that protects consumers already from hackers, data scraping, and crime in and of itself. Encryption is the bedrock of internet security and privacy. It has to be protected, not at the expense of crime and child predation and all of these things being allowed to flourish, but we must use ingenuity and not fear to solve our problems with crime online. So we need to come up with creative solutions, and I hope that myself, you watching this right now, folks in the space, that we can help within the cryptocurrency space contribute creative cryptographic mechanisms that can help do this. So I wanted to put that on your radar, but it's definitely something to watch. And if we wanted to keep it in the internet privacy world, the awesome non-tracking search engine DuckDuckGo recently released a web-hosted list of domains and companies that are guilty of tracking you online. Think of this like the online naughty list of online tracking and privacy. This new project is called Tracker Radar, and it's continuously and automatically updated to give you an increasingly updated and up-to-date list of the notorious trackers of your data online. This list can be used by developers of browsers, apps, and more to build tracker blocking features in their products using this list, which I'm sure we'll see Brave Browser and other applications like it dive into in the near future. If I were you, I would start using DuckDuckGo as your search engine whenever you can. They don't fingerprint you, they don't track your IP, or advertise to you based on your demographics or personal data. They're just a solid, easy-to-use search engine without the nonsense. If you're a Brave user, you can go into your settings and change the default search engine to DuckDuckGo, or in other browsers you can install the DuckDuckGo extension or install the app on your phone so you can use it yourself. Now, let's pivot over to the world of Bitcoin mining. I read a really interesting story today about a power plant in New York that's being used because of its low-cost energy in its area to generate and run over 7,000 Bitcoin mining devices for a nice earning of an average of $50,000 US in Bitcoin per day. Of course, you have all the Bitcoin haters online saying Bitcoin's a waste of electricity, Bitcoin's terrible for the environment, why are we wasting all this electricity at this power plant, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Do something about the actual environmental issues that we actually have, like the piles of pure garbage laying on the streets and sidewalks of New York, or the huge amount of energy waste that occurs while generating electricity at power plants all around the country. But I digress. What's significant here is that a successful, profitable mining operation in the USA, which is pretty rare in and of itself, is really, really strong here. In New York, one of the least crypto-friendly places on earth. This potentially opens up more people's eyes to the fact that you can use abandoned power plants or manufacturing sites with cheap electricity and good facilities to mine Bitcoin in a profitable way. What is even more interesting here is that the operators claim that they will be profitable at this location in New York even after the Bitcoin halving in May, which is huge, huge news. A big concern about the halving is that miners will abandon ship en masse because of the lack of profitability when the Bitcoin reward moves from 12.5 to 6.25 Bitcoin per block in May of 2020. The fact that miners in the US can run a large-scale profitable operation even after the halving is a good sign. We really, really need to keep miners and that hash rate up after the halving to make sure that we re-cement the chain as a nice, secure place to transact, and so that we could see those price movements that we want in the upward trajectory. That said, I wanted to talk about what we can expect from the Bitcoin halving. I think everyone's seeing online one or the other, this black or white picture. Oh, the halving, the golden day where Bitcoin instantly goes to the moon. And then on the other side of that coin, pun intended, the halving will destroy Bitcoin and everything's going to zero. Those are like the duality, the two things that we hear so much. And it's funny how the internet works in that way. In reality, the halving is going to be, well, a mixed bag in my opinion. I think we'll see a pretty reasonable hash rate drop right at the very beginning as some of the less invested miners drop out for greener, more profitable pastures. That's the way it goes, and it's just like we saw with the Litecoin halving. However, the good thing about Bitcoin is that the large pools, the big operations, they have a lot of specialized hardware that's really, really, really good at mining Bitcoin. And they're sitting on enough Bitcoin that they have a deep investment in this ecosystem and will continue mining even if it's at a small loss for a fair bit of time because they believe that the Bitcoin protocol is where they want to be and that it will accrue in value over time now that that inflation rate has decreased due to the halving. To me, I think we see 2020 as a year of resetting for Bitcoin as miners get adjusted to the new reward, the weaker parties get shaken out, and the stronger, more invested miners cement their positions within the protocol. We likely won't see crazy price jumps that everyone keeps promising online, or at least there's no real indication that we're guaranteed a $20,000 Bitcoin in June of 2020. If trends are followed from previous halvings, it could take months or years to reap the rewards of the decreased rate of inflation and the increased scarcity of Bitcoin in terms of its price. So maybe 2021 is our year for real Bitcoin price movement in a positive direction, but my guess is as good as anyone else's. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below what you think about Bitcoin's price and where we're going based on the halving. Now, I wanted to also talk about Ethereum and a project within that ecosystem. This week, Consensus, Ernst & Young, Microsoft, and partners like Chainlink, MakerDAO, and Unibright announced the development and impending release of something called the Baseline Protocol. This is an enterprise-focused protocol that will be hosted on the Ethereum mainnet by way of smart contracts. The Baseline Protocol is a concerted effort to bring blockchain to an enterprise landscape that is largely fearful of public, transparent, and wide open nature that is the cryptocurrency space. Public blockchains are wide open. That's just the reality. Baseline features zero-knowledge proofs, off-chain data storage, data oracles and adapters, and all sorts of privacy and enterprise-oriented features that enterprises will love. We'll know a lot more about this implementation when its code releases to the public between now and April, I think it is, but it sounds really promising to me. I read that Microsoft feels that the era of intranet for blockchain is coming to an end, likening this period of fear of the public network by enterprises to the early days of the internet, where many companies opted for corporate intranet or private internet rather than the big scary World Wide Web where all their information was public. I, for one, am a believer that we will see a vast number of enterprises moving towards public blockchains, and we'll see public blockchains hosting the biggest companies' information and transactional data in the years to come. This particular protocol will be very interesting because, to be honest with you, it comes from a pedigree that's pretty hard to deny. It comes from multiple facets. Consensus, which is really cemented in the Ethereum and blockchain space, especially in the public network world. You have Ernst & Young, who's been doing zero-knowledge proof work, and they're in the consulting space. You also have Microsoft, a big tech product company. And then you have cryptocurrency partners like Chainlink and Unibright, etc., that are helping guide this as well. I would believe that this is probably a significant movement in the enterprise blockchain world to get enterprises onto the public mainnet for Ethereum. Part of the strategy for Ethereum 2.0 is likely getting these enterprises into the mix beforehand. So looking forward to this, and I will keep you posted all along the way as I learn more. As always, folks, I will link up some awesome content here for you to watch, like my previous episodes from Crypto Over Coffee series, if you've got more time to watch. But of course, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, cheers.